You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I don't know what I was thinking there. I don't even know where we're from.
Where do you think we are today, Jim? La La Land?
Listen, I like La La Land. I live there all the time. So thanks for your patience, folks. I am Jim, your obviously silly host today, and with me, as always, is my partner.
It's Rocco.
It's Rocco. Rocco with his dull downbeat intro, right? So I'm changing things up.
Hey, at least I know the name of our company.
All right, that's fair. But it's not going to save you. And I want everybody out there to know that what I'm about to do next and what is going to become a regular feature on the show is Rocco's Full. Because I'm out here trying to get an upbeat intro, get everybody pumped for whatever our topic is for today. And I'm partnered here with Eeyore, who just goes, whatever, I'm Rocco. So you know what I decided? But bad luck for everybody. A buddy of mine actually, he emailed me a link to a website that has engineering jokes, and there's hundreds of them. And I'm like, oh, I'm not letting this go. So new feature on the show, Rocco. We're starting with a joke every week. You ready? Here's your first joke. You ready? Here we go. Okay, so look. So three engineers are riding in a car, right? And they start to go down a hill, right? You got an electrical engineer, a mechanical engineer, and a software engineer. They're riding in a car. They start to go down the hill, and they lose control, spin out, bam, smack right into a tree. Mechanical engineer jumps out and he goes, oh man, must be something with the brakes. Let me crawl into the car and check it out. And the electrical engineer gets out and he goes, I'm sure it was something wrong with the electrical system. Let me get under the hood and check it out. The software engineer gets out and says, I think we should push this back up the hill and try it again. They're terrible jokes, but I absolutely love them. So I will be using those. There's no way I'm letting that resource go. Just way too many of them made me laugh too hard. My inner engineering geek just loved it. All right, so what are we talking about? I know what we're talking about today, Rocker. We're talking about our topic is PDFs to drawings and then back again. And I love this topic because it's such a common setup, right? Because it really doesn't matter which side of the design build fence that you stand on, whether you're a designer or a GC. We all run into issues with having files that are in one format when we need them in another. In particular, this is a huge issue with PDF and DWG files, right? The PDFs and the drawings. They're the two most common types of construction documents, at least in terms of files that we see out there. DWG files, they're kind of the mainstay of the design world. And all major CAD systems like BricsCAD and AutoCAD. Man, I can't speak today, Rocco. We're doing this late on a Friday. My tongue doesn't want to do anything. Either of these systems, all right, will work with the DWG files natively, right? And or at the very least, they provide the capacity to import or export or convert to that DWG format. In DWGs, these are CAD-based design files using vector line work and blocks and so on to create the overall design for any project. And PDFs, on the other hand, are what most people in the construction world are dealing with on a daily basis. Right? These are portable document format files, right? PDF, and they're the primary digital output from a CAD system, right? And that's what's normally delivered to clients and contractors, and they're used because you don't have the fear of those end users modifying the original design. And an important thing I think to remember here in the design build world is that the CAD design, right, the actual design of a project is, and usually remains, the intellectual property of the signing architect or engineer. The project owner or the client is technically only leasing the rights to a single instance of that design to build their facility or site. And that's why design firms are always so reluctant to share their DWG files on a project. It's their property and they don't want anybody modifying or copying it and using it for other projects. And that's where that PDF comes in. It's normally a static presentation of the design. that can't be easily edited. It's basically it's a digital piece of paper. All right, so they're happy to give out PDFs whenever you want. The problem, of course, is that sometimes the contractors, the GCs, could make real good use of a drawing file for measurements and takeoffs and layouts and alterations. And on the other hand, right, sometimes the design firms are stuck with PDF files themselves from other professionals. The structural engineer maybe only has the PDFs of the architectural plans if they're not working, directly as a sub for the architect. The reality is that at some point, we all need to be able to convert our PDFs to drawing files and drawing files back to PDFs, right? And kind of the how-to of that is what I want to talk about today. All right, so Rocco, does access to or conversion between PDFs and drawings come up in your conversations a lot? Is it something more important to contractors or designers in your experience?
Yeah, it comes up pretty often, and I mean, I think it's more on the design side, but it definitely comes up from both angles. I mean, it's a huge way to communicate, right? To effectively communicate and work with folks. So definitely, I mean, especially around the Bluebeam work that we do.
Okay. All right, so let's start with kind of the general concept of converting these files back and forth, and then we'll get into the systems that can help you do this in the second half of the show. And when it comes to converting PDFs into a drawing format, there are really two ways of handling the situation, and you're going to have to kind of decide which method is going to best meet your needs. Number one is the concept of a PDF underlay. And this is where we take what is essentially an image of the source PDF and we import it into our CAD system, right? That underlay becomes a background image inside the drawing file that you can scale and rotate and so on to your correct size and location within your drawing for your job. And this lets you very quickly do visual checks and look for layout consistency between the PDF and the drawing CAD environment. I think the real benefit of the underlay concept is that it's a reference file. In other words, when there are changes or additions like field notes and red lines and punch keys, things like that, to the source PDF, right, those will automatically show up inside your DWG file. And a lot of people really like this and find it really useful because it's a great way to communicate what's happening in the field, to the design staff back in the office, right? Especially since almost all field people on the construction end have access to, some PDF editing tool, very commonly, like Rocco was saying before, Bluebeam, right? That kind of tool. So Rocco, how important are construction document editors like, Bluebeam, right? To our client base? I mean, am I crazy, or are most of these guys using these types of tools to help them improve communication?
No, it's I mean, whether it's a small firm up to your, up to your big firms, it's huge. I mean, yeah, I mean, most of them are using Bluebeam. I mean, at some level, I think some folks are still using Adobe, but Bluebeam is huge. It's critical.
Yeah. Now, I mean, there are still some folks out there who will even open up, and modern web browsers will open up PDFs, but generally they're not sufficient for what we're trying to accomplish in the construction world. So the PDF editors I find are everywhere now. So the second way, I said there were two ways, right? The second way that you guys can convert your PDF to a DWG file is via the PDF import function, which is fairly common in modern CAD systems. What it does is it lets you actually convert the PDF information to native drawing elements. And I think an important thing to understand here is that all CAD systems, without exception, all CAD systems are vector based, meaning that they use lines as their basis. Okay, a line, it basically starts at point A, it goes to point B, and the line between those in a CAD system is a single solid object. It's one item. Whereas PDFs on the other hand are pixel based. Okay, there's really no such thing as a real, quote unquote line in a PDF, right? What we see as lines in a PDF is actually a series of square dots called pixels that are, strung real tightly together to look like lines and text and so on. And the PDF import tool will actually recognize the difference between pixelated lines and text and convert them to the appropriate vector-based items in the CAD system that you're using. And this means that after the import is complete, you're left with actual vector-based drawn lines and polylines and arcs and text and so on in the drawing file that you're able to create and kind of reverse engineer right from the PDF. And those entities are now fully intelligent and editable via the CAD system, right? You can scale them up to actual sizes and proceed to draft and run inquiries and so on, right? Just as if you had drawn all of that from scratch inside the DWG files. So yeah, Rocco, we do, or you do, right? A lot of CAD sales, and I do the support here for systems like BricsCAD. Is the PDF import tool in those systems as important to the end users as I think it is from the tech side?
Yeah, because it's a way to I mean, nobody wants to share their true DWG file, right? So it's a method to communicate with folks that they're working with at all levels. So yeah, and I mean, gone are the days, right, when you used to print stuff out and drop it off, at an engineer's office, so it's the way to do it now.
Yep, and I say thank goodness that's gone. You know how many hours of my life were spent making copies and printing copies and delivering them to job sites? That was a huge part of my job when I was younger. All right, so the last component here, I guess, in this half of the show I want to talk about is how do we move this in the other direction? In other words, how do we go from the DWG file to a PDF file? And the good thing is this is really, really common and it is very simple. It's basically a matter of printing. That's all it is. All CAD systems have the basic ability to print the drawing information out to a PDF. Whether with built-in DWG to PDF drivers, or you can use the standard Microsoft PDF drivers, or maybe even have a plug-in printer, right? A PDF printer like Bluebeam. Like I said earlier, right? This is a common practice for design firms. So the process for them really is as simple as hitting the plot button inside the DWG, right? And then they just pick the PDF printer they want to use, and they're done. And I like, personally, I like to use the DWG to PDF options for 2D drawings, right? And then I use plugins like the Bluebeam for 3D work, right? When I'm doing that kind of stuff. And then I use the Microsoft printers, right, for business documents like specs and contracts and so on. And any one that you choose is fine. But I'm going to say two things here that are vitally important to effectively generate a usable PDF. Number one, please make sure that you guys are printing the PDF to the correct page size. Right? Don't make the mistake of thinking that scale doesn't matter here because this is a digital file that people are going to zoom in and out of. It matters a lot. Right? If your drawing layout tab is set for 24 by 36, right, like a D-size sheet, make sure you print the PDF at 24 by 36, please. Right? Because if you plot this thing as an 8.5 by 11, it's going to print, right? But you make life a lot harder on the contractors who are trying to use it to measure and do estimates and QTO. So please take the time to do that, guys. Second, right? Yeah, please, always include, please, one more please. Not enough pleases on this. Include the used layer information as part of the PDF print. Look, this is a simple checkbox, right, under your printer settings. And what it does is it will include your active layers information in the PDF. This means that contractors have the ability to turn layers on and off and even isolate them in the PDF, which is a massive time saver. Right? You want to build a good reputation with GCs and have them recommend you to other owners and clients. Just include the layer information in your PDFs, and these guys will love you. Okay. All right. So I tell you what, let's let's take a pause here for me to get some coffee into my system and stop stumbling over my words today. And we'll get a quick word in from today's sponsor. Stand by, folks. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call Podcast is being sponsored by both Rocco and I. Zentech, we want to talk to you guys about our Bluebeam Review Toolset Kickstart program. Look, you guys fight with trying to get reliable, repeatable quantity takeoff and markup items from your Bluebeam software, right? Are you guys frustrated having to go in and change and modify the display properties of every single item that you create inside a review? Well, that's what we're here to help you guys with the Kickstart program. We give you tools that you need built to your specifications at an affordable fixed cost. You can fully develop tool sets for any industry. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what you do, we can help you work better with Bluebeam custom tools. So Rocco, why don't you tell folks how they get info on our Kickstart program?
Yeah, the big thing is it is like you said, Jim. It's one fixed price, so it's $29.95, and we can help you to prove to your management what
is it $29.95?
No, Jim, it's $2,995.
Thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Oh, of course. So hit up our website, check out the details. We'd be happy to talk to you. It's zentechconsultants.net. Reach out to us, sales@zentechconsultants.net, or give us a ring, 866-824-4459.
All right, the Bluebeam Review Toolset Kickstart program. Everything you guys need to be Bluebeam experts. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast, where we're talking about converting, right, files back and forth between PDFs and DWG files, which is kind of a ubiquitous function in our world. In the first half, we talked about the general concepts of this process, and in this half, I want to talk a bit more about the actual process and what systems on the market can handle the conversions and how. So let's begin with the PDF underlays, right, and the pros and cons of that. For starters, just about any CAD system these days has the ability to use an underlay, though they might be called references or backgrounds in some programs. BricsCAD and AutoCAD both use underlays, and they do it in an identical fashion, right? So you can do what we're talking about here in either system. MicroStation also has a full underlay system, though it works a bit differently, and they don't natively use the DWG format, but they do a real nice job on their conversions. So basically, to load a PDF in any of these CAD files, you run the PDF underlay command, and then you browse to where the source PDF is on your network, right? The big key here is that PDFs can contain multiple sheets. So you're going to have to select the individual page that you want to bring in as a background. In other words, if your PDF has 50 sheets in it and you need the information from sheet 25, you're going to have to tell the CAD system that, right? No CAD system that I know of can import more than one PDF sheet at a time. You can repeat the process and import multiple sheets as you need to, right? So if you need to import 10 of them, just run it 10 times. Once you've placed the underlay, you're going to see that it comes in very small in the model space of your drawing file. And that makes sense when you consider, right, that a PDF is really a digital piece of paper, right? So if your plan is a 24 by 36 sheet, it's actually going to come in as a 2 foot by 3 foot image in model space, right? You'll need to use the scale command, right, which is usually with the reference option, which lets you pick 2 points that the distance between and then type in the correct size, right? Essentially you scale, you pick your 2 points on screen, say between 2 column center lines, right, which is likely to read as like 4 inches or so when you first bring it in, right? And then you pick those 2 points and you type in that gap should be 25 feet or whatever the correct value is on your plan. And then the CAD system will scale up the entire underlay to the correct size, right? So then you can start measuring, sketching, whatever it is you need to do. I will point out here, though, that since an underlay is still pixelated, it's still that PDF pixels, you are likely going to get reduced resolution and some sketchy looking lines this way. which it's fine for reference and quick measures, but it's not always great if you're trying to, print from those. Okay, so Rocco, are there a lot of folks who need help with this type of work, or most people who you deal with, do they seem comfortable with it already? I mean, is general use of like images and underlays and maps pretty well understood at this point, or is it still kind of a mystery to a lot of folks?
It depends on the user, right? I mean, we're all skilled at some level or not, or another, but I think people are more adept at using this. I mean, I remember back in the early days of in my previous life at an Autodesk reseller that I worked for, and this kind of people used to calling constantly for all this kind of stuff. They were just struggling with it. So, but as time has gone on, I think everybody's kind of gotten used to working in one way or another.
Yeah.
Has everybody mastered it? No, I'm sure there's better best practices, but
Yeah. I find it on the tech side that you're absolutely right on the for like architects, engineers, they spend so much of their life in the CAD and the design software that they do get very comfortable with it. I still find a lot of folks in the construction side who they're construction guys. They're not always like we've talked about a million times on the show. They're always not leading the way in the technology charge. Put it that way. Um,
yeah.
so I mean, like, I work a lot with both BricsCAD and a whole array of AutoCAD based products, and all of them have the ability to do the PDF import function, right, which converts the PDF to DWG line work, right, and this the process here for the import is very similar to what we discussed with the underlay process, right? You're going to run your PDF import tool, right? And then select the PDF source from your network, right? And the appropriate sheet that you want to import, right? So the important point here is that there is an option in the PDF import. It's a little checkbox usually in most of these systems. It says, import the PDF as a block. And I suggest that you guys always turn that feature on, right? Because you're going to have the same scaling problem as we discussed with the underlay here, right? The source is still a 24 by 36 piece of paper. If you bring the line work in as individual items, it's going to be a lot harder to select and scale and move and rotate thousands and thousands of lines into the correct locations and positions. And that's particularly true. You're going to find if there are like shaded and hatched areas in your source PDF. But by importing it all as a block, right, you can manipulate everything as one item until everything has been sized and scaled and rotated and moved to exactly where you need it. And once that's done, you can just use the explode command to break the block back down to its component items. And another thing is, when you're doing the PDF import, you'll also have an option, right? It's called create layers from PDF, right? And there's another option is create layers per entity type. The create layers from PDF option, it's going to use the layers that exist in the PDF, right? It's going to import those and put the line work on those layers. And it's just going to usually just prefixes them with the letters PDF, right? Which is really convenient. Makes it real easy to say, it's PDF dash storm. Oh, that's my storm layer, right? That came in from the PDF. The second option, right, which is the creating per entity. That will create basic layers for items like, geometry and fills and text. And the program will sort all the lines onto the geometry layer and text onto the text layer and so on. And you can also choose to have all the lines import to whatever your current layer is, which I'm personally not a huge fan of, but I can see it being useful in a couple of specific instances. And the last thing that you're going to want to look at, right, once you've done this, right, you've done that PDF import, is using a tool like they have in BricsCAD. It's called the Optimize tool. And what it does is it finds broken or angled lines and it cleans them up automatically. The one issue you're definitely going to see in a PDF import is that the lines aren't always orthogonal. and things like a dash line can come in as a whole bunch of little tiny separate entities. Right? And a tool like BricsCAD's Optimize can really help you clean that up really, really quickly. So, Rocco, do you see clients asking a lot about using the underlays and images and maps in conversations? And if you do, and if folks who are listening need help with this, what do we do? What do we offer here at Zentech for those folks?
Yeah, it doesn't come up too often, but I mean, if you guys need help, just reach out. Whether probably our best way to help out is through our tech block services, where you pre-purchase hours, and we can help you pretty much with any of your CAD or PDF related needs.
There you go. So all right. So one kind of final thought here for going in the drawing to PDF direction, right? The opposite way here. When you use tools like Bluebeam, right, which has a CAD plugin for helping you to print PDFs, right? It shows up in your CAD system. You're likely to see in the more advanced plugins a print to 3D PDF option. And I am a huge fan of this. This is so underused. What it does, right, the print to 3D PDF, it lets you print items from tools like BricsCAD BIM or Revit, right, Inventor, whatever you're using, out to a PDF as a fully functional 3D and BIM PDF model that you can rotate, pan around, isolate objects, and even see the BIM data, all in the native PDF format inside of a tool like Bluebeam. And what's really, really impressive about this, what I really love about this, is that the PDF file that we do this way, it's usually only about 5 to 10% of the size of its CAD or BIM counterpart, right? So that it can be used in the field and on phones and tablets and two-in-ones, right? The 3D PDFs that you can pull from one of these systems is absolutely amazing. I've done a couple of webinars on it if you guys want to see it in action. So Rocco, wake up. Tell me, where do they find the webinars?
Yeah, well, you would need Bluebeam Review CAD for that, right, Jim?
No. I mean, but to do that, to create it, yeah, you need the Bluebeam Review CAD or the Extreme. Either one of those will give it. There, it kind of stacks.
Right.
But yeah, that's how you build those. Yeah.
Yeah. So to address your questions, yeah, we do have a number of webinars that are available on demand. You can actually hit up our website, zentechconsultants.net, and check out either what's available on demand or what's coming up live, and learn some more stuff.
All more stuff. We're all about the stuff. And I think I bored poor Rocco enough with the technical CAD stuff. So it's a Friday before a holiday weekend here. I'm gonna let Rocco go back to lounging by his pool for the rest of the day, which is what he does best.
You mean the baby pool in the backyard?
Yeah. With the little rubber duck in it, and you got the sprinkler hose going. Yeah, I didn't say it was a big pool. Listen, it's more than I got. I have to be envious of your little sprinkler pool. All right, folks, we're gonna get out of here. We will catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody, today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.